Right now, we're recording inside of a container, downtown Toronto. This is the grand finale of Chill and Grill, and we have our international Grammy award-winning friend, co-host, brethren, you know what I mean, Walshy Fire. What's good, my G?
Wagwan, my youth.
You're good.
So good, brother. Everything is so good.
Back to Toronto, 'cause last time I seen you, we're actually Florida. I came and
man.
linked you, so then you said, all right, Kat, you're it.
Yeah.
So then
and
you
then,
started
because before that, I went to the Studio Deluxe.
Yeah.
Whew. Guys, if y'all have not gone to this studio that Muscle has in Toronto, trust me, this is the place that the kings and queens of many countries, that's where they get interviewed, man.
The princess.
What a luxurious experience that was.
Come on, boss. You know this. You know what I mean? So next time,
that.
But then that means next time we link, I gotta be in Florida.
Yeah.
And then after that, back in the studio.
Yeah, man.
You understand?
Thanks.
Listen, you know, you're the first person I ever seen mix Bob Marley and Supercat, and it actually made sense.
I just did that. And
That's what I mean.
And it felt great. Yeah, man, it felt great.
What made you even think that that's something that you could
Man, I've been doing this for so long. I'm probably, and I'm not trying to brag, I'm not. Trust me when I tell you, I've come to the realization that it's sometimes if you don't say it, people don't see it.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to say this with, much humility. I realize I am probably the only DJ in the world who DJs so many different genres of music every night. I could literally play an all reggaeton party tonight, a dancehall party the next night, an EDM party the next night, an all R&B party the next night, a Soca fete the next night. And then, I can keep going. And I can do that, a hip hop party, crazy.
So where did you even get that type of knowledge and even love for music? Say, okay, it's almost like a multi-genre, no limit to the music. Where did that come from?
Just a respect for people's cultures, respect for their time with me in these spaces, and understanding where I'm at. Like tonight, I really understand where I'm at. So it's really easy for me to grab from each of these I can grab from all the things I do and put it into one set, and very easily. So I think a lot of people tonight, they're like, wow, he went around the whole world in like 30 minutes.
Crazy.
And if they only understood, I actually go around the world so much that I'm able to do that. And like I said before, I would love to hear somebody in the chat tell me who else does that. But I don't know a single other DJ, zero, that's at a very hardcore dancehall event one night and at a 40,000 people rave the next night. Two totally different.
That's mind-boggling. But even you as an individual, how do you feel playing like events? Say, okay, here has like 1,000 people tonight, and I seen we're at a festival that had like 300,000.
Yeah.
How do you adjust? Do you mentally adjust to that?
This is actually more fun because, for instance, the elderly lady, what's her name?
The elderly lady.
Yeah, there you go, with the white hat on.
Yeah.
To be able to make a moment around her where the whole party stops and everyone makes a circle around here, and then we play I'm Every Woman, and all the females rush her and hug her. That's what, that only happens in these kind of spaces. So shout out to Chilling and Grilling.
But is it almost like an emotional wave where, okay, last night I was at 300,000 people, and tonight there's only 500 people. Isn't that like really an emotional wave to get through?
Maybe it used to be.
Yeah.
I've been doing this now for 30 years, man. So, not on this level, maybe 15 years. Black Chinese, I was with Black Chinese for 10 years. So that was a level, but I've been doing this for so long that no, you just get up and do the work. It's not really any change in how you feel.
Another day at the office.
Yeah, man. But you're prepared to destroy it. I'm so prepared, man. It's like, I'm so prepared. The only thing I wouldn't do now is like a sound clash. I would need to prepare. Yeah, man. I would take time off to prepare.
But I heard you playing dubs on there.
No, man. I play a dub. Yeah. No. All right. If somebody tests tonight, I'm ready for them. No, but what I'm saying is,
but all out war.
All out war, like a real sound clash. Yeah. I leave that to Bobby Chin and them, and them DVD, come.
I got one. Would you play a World Bash?
A world bash is like a juggling.
Yeah, like what Chin's doing right now, where it's like a juggling, dubplate, clashy type of vibe.
Yeah, man. I would, but I would again have to prepare.
Yeah.
Because I don't cut dubs like that anymore. And so for me, making sure that I have the surprises that really like leave an impact on that audience takes work, you know? And yeah, I'd have to really say, I'd have to turn down a bunch of shows to do that work. So
to really
yeah, man, I'd be down, but it would be something I'd have to prepare for. Yeah, man. And salute to everybody out there that clashes or does these kind of like hardcore juggling events because they prepare, man. They prepare, you know, and it shows when they perform. So salute to them.
Yeah. Talking about sound system, because you know we always got to talk about sound clash.
Can't not do that.
Okay. Yeah. So then this is a question I've been racking my mind all week now. Is sound clash dead? Because what I'm seeing a lot of clashes, but I don't know if there's a lot of the attendance is bigger, it's greater, it's expanded. That I don't know. You see a lot of events, but I don't know if each event is getting 200 people or 2,000 people.
All right, let's go viral.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, them question are the question what people them love to see. You know?
Yeah.
Is clash dead? That's the question that he asked.
Yep.
Nightlife is dead. Clash is just a representation of what's happening across the board, across the scene. If any of you guys are keeping stock, you'll notice lots of clubs have closed. And if there is a club, it's much smaller than it used to be. You know, you will see now 200 people clubs. And when we grew up, there was no such thing. You had, you know, Rebel, you had, what name?
Government.
These things held thousands of people, and that was a club.
Yeah.
Now you will, bro, I think Rebel might be the last big club here.
It is the last one like that, yes.
Yeah,
You know what
and
I mean?
so that's exact. So that, you know, it represents my point. Same thing in Miami, same thing in most cities. Most of the clubs that were holding thousands of people every single weekend, them not about again. So I would say that, of course, I'm never going to say Clash is dead, you know, but I do believe the younger adults actually just don't go out like that. It's not a part of their culture to go out like how we used to go out. I'll give you another example. You don't ever, nobody parties at night anymore. You know,
No,
and of course I'm
day
exaggerating.
parties are definitely.
It's day
You know what I
parties.
mean?
I'm
Yeah.
exaggerating, of course, but it's day parties.
Yeah.
Day parties are everything. I've said this many times. Why is our Clash audience still, or why are our Clash promoters still keeping nighttime clashes? They would do so much better with a daytime clash.
That's a point there.
All right, so let's say you still get the same kind of like 30 up crowd,
Yeah.
and they also can go to bed at 10.
Yeah.
Yo, trust me, bro, you win.
Yeah.
You know, but this thing where the club off at 4 o'clock, we have to hurry up and do this tune for tune now. We shouldn't be doing that no more, because we're in a space now where people will probably enjoy the event more if you just keep it in the day. And I know that somebody out there is doing it. So salute to whoever you are. I don't know anybody that's keeping clashes in the day, but I'm sure I'm not the first to come up with this idea.
It has to be somewhere.
But I will say, for everybody who's not thought of that before, please run with it.
Yeah.
Run with it.
No, because
keep your clash a little bit earlier.
I see a lot of clashes coming up, but it almost seems like we're doing it for ourselves now, opposed to for the audience, because I don't see the growth of the audience, the explosion. Because if you speak to a lot of artists, especially throughout Corona, the first thing they're going to tell you, you know how I survived? Was dub plates. So I'm thinking, okay, cool. Who are buying all these dub plates and to do what with these dub plates? You understand?
Yeah, man.
So
I
don't know.
Yeah, I definitely think the audience has gotten smaller. I think it definitely has potential to be big again, but it's got to enter some of the more trending ways that people enjoy entertainment. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Young people now go to day parties. That's what they do. Yeah. They go to a rooftop day party and they do the latest TikTok dances and them love themselves, light themselves extreme.
So how would you incorporate that?
I think World Bash is a great idea to introduce this energy to a younger audience.
For sure.
So eventually you do enough of these hardcore juggling things. Like for instance, I played dub plates today. I know for a fact there are people in that crowd tonight when I played those dub plates that were like, wait. Did he just say his
Major
name?
Lazer and Walshy
Did he just
Fire.
say his name in the dub? Am I hearing right? Did that just happen? And they're confused.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's still mind blowing to them to be like, that's crazy that happened. So if I can see that astonishment is still there for people who would have never wanted to participate in it, you do enough of these kind of events, eventually you'll be like, everybody, I want to also show you this like more hardcore way of doing it, And then I think people will be into it, but we have to meet the people, at least halfway where they are.
Yeah.
And if we're stuck in the same rotation, doing the same thing in these rooms that look like this, and eventually, enough people are going to say, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
So, but again, shout out to everybody that's doing the work. Shout out to everybody that's building, working, contributing, doing everything they can to Sound Clash because it could never die.
Okay, so then the statement today is Sound Clash is not dead.
Never dead.
Okay.
The idea that two people who have music will not battle to see who's the best at presenting that music, never die.
So the idea is not dead, but the audience attendance is not there like one time.
I think that's across the board, right? I think everybody would say that. I've watched enough promoters say, I'm out. Like, oh man, another one gone, So I think that, but again, that's not just Sound Clash. That's across the board. Across the board. Every club is now a tiny club. Every day party is now a day party. Like that's where it's at, so.
Yeah. Last time we spoke, we got a super viral moment on Instagram and TikTok right across the board. That was the AI DJs, all right? I want to build on that a bit because when I seen you seen a group of people said, yeah, you're right about that. But there was also a group of people that said, no, that would never happen.
Yeah.
Those are the people I want to focus on 1 second, where I think that people are short-sighted when it comes to thinking, where they're thinking that we're saying that AI DJ is going to take over for you as a 35-year-old, as a 40-year-old, as a 45-year-old.
Correct.
No, it's about the 10-year-olds now that when they're 18, that's when it takes over.
Correct.
Think about something like this. You go to a dance, Myers is playing with Danny Dre, okay? He's playing on one turntable, playing records and stuff, and you say, yo, Danny Dre, could I select 2 tunes? Say, yeah, man, come through. And you come with a laptop. You know how crazy would look at Danny Dre in 1985 with a laptop box?
Bro, do you know how crazy I looked in the year 2005 when with Black Chinese, we using Final Scratch and pulling up to big sound system and saying, yo, can I plug out? And the engineer looking at you like, touch my sound to do what? Plug in what? Brother. And you have to fight. You ask Willie Chin.
Yeah.
Next time you interview him, ask him about the fights, the physical fights me, him, Dupes, and Bobby Chin used to have to go through for plugging a laptop on people's sound. And that was the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know what your bigger point is, but trust when I tell you, man, me fight that struggle there, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. And AI is one of those things where, now Danny J probably sees a laptop and probably has a laptop.
Yeah, but when you first introduced it to him, people would say, yo, you're crazy. Where are you going with that?
Yeah, man, and it's fine. You always need some kind of debate to make something make sense in the end. You can't just accept it.
Yeah.
So people have to debate it. But eventually, it will make sense. Whether or not I'm wrong or I'm right, it will make sense.
Something will happen.
Yeah, man,
I don't
something's
think
gonna
it's going to
happen.
remain the same. Something has to happen.
But I think you said it very well earlier. The people who were in the comments that were upset, and I try my best not to read comments, but you get tagged so much because it did go viral. It did really go viral.
Yeah.
The people who didn't agree with me, again, yes, some of them were actually truly fearful of their job and were like, hey, I could never do what I do. And I go, that's actually exactly why I'm not talking about you.
Yeah.
But you see the 18, 19-year-old person who doesn't talk on the microphone, doesn't actually mix. Because remember, everything can
Automated.
doesn't actually select the songs anymore. Because now it will select the song for you. You play a song, it will suggest songs that you should play next.
That's wild.
That's what AI is right
Yeah.
now.
Right
So
now.
imagine if you never knew how to DJ in the world, ever in your life, and then all of a sudden you're presented with these tools that allow you to become a DJ instantly. Well, it's going to get flooded because people see DJs as rock stars. So this is their chance to be a rock star, to get little fame, maybe earn some money, get gal, do whatever, So they're going to flood it,
Yeah.
And I think AI is going to crush all of it.
It's gonna be serious. I think there's a wave coming that nobody could predict, and a lot of people think that when we say AI, anything, it's gonna happen tomorrow,
Yeah.
or even next week, or even next year. It doesn't work.
Let me
that
tell
way.
you something. I
3 years.
just said AI is selecting the songs for you. You just literally have to make sure it's the song that you want to hear next, play next. But AI is doing everything. It's selecting the song, it's mixing the song. Now all you have to do is just stand behind the turntables and do this and be like, yo, look at my fashion.
A real
Look
celebrity.
at how I'm dressed. Hey, I'm a celebrity.
You remember
And-
when Paris Hilton
Yeah,
was
man.
a DJ and stuff like that?
Yeah,
Now it's gonna make that times 10.
Yes.
With these
You're gonna
celebrity
get a
DJs that's
million-
not doing nothing.
Yeah, man, you're gonna get a million Paris Hiltons. And at the end of the day, I don't think that lasts. I don't think that fake. There's a soul to DJ. There's a personality to DJ. There's a relationship with you and the audience when you DJ that I do not think AI can replicate. And that's why when you see somebody get on the microphone and in real time say something extremely funny or extremely impactful to the moment, like this lady that's there, Spontaneous.
Yeah.
There's an elderly lady in the middle of the dance floor. Yo, let's celebrate her. I don't think AI can do that. Well,
Yeah.
that's something that people get from a soul, from another person. Now, if you cannot do that, if you cannot get on the microphone and say something intelligent, if you cannot mix, if you cannot select your music, you cannot DJ, and AI is going to come for your job.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we revisited that conversation to clear that up.
No, man, 100%. It's gonna be interesting. You know what I mean? And right now, we're heading into Grammy season right now.
Yeah, man. Big up to Walshy Fire.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get nominated for one.
I seen that you submitted the Jimmy Cliff remixes.
Yeah, I did the Jimmy Cliff album, all remixes to his Harder They Come album. And so shout out to everybody that can vote. And yeah, man. And everybody out there, trust me, you can never get mad at the Grammys when you don't participate. If you really, really feel good about what's happening, then cool, just sit back and don't watch nothing. But if you're like, nah, I want to see a change in certain things, of course, there's always the reggae controversy of who won. Get involved. So shout out to everybody that is helping me get my remix album with Jimmy Cliff nominated. I appreciate you.
Okay. We're gonna go into Grammys just now, but I want to speak about the Jimmy Cliff that's gonna tie us back into Grammys. That Jimmy Cliff project, How Did They Come? Out of every album, every artist in the world, how did something like that come around, and how did you even conceptualize, or did it come to you?
Gotta say shout out to Ron and the Creative Titans crew, man. Shout out to Ron, shout out to Concord Publishing, shout out to my team. I just have to say big up to my team. I've met Jimmy Cliff once. I took a picture with him, met him once. But I don't know him past that, you know? And so for my team to constantly work at getting me opportunities to do, I mean, this is Jimmy Cliff, man. This is one of the greatest albums that ever came out of Jamaica ever.
With a movie also.
With a movie. So shout out to my team, man. They're the ones that worked hard on connecting these dots. Yeah.
Jimmy Cliff now, that vibe there, because when you listen to the remixes and stuff, they sound like it's the original song still, just updated slightly to a 2024 sounds and stuff, but still with the original essence of the sound. Was that what you were really going for when it came to the remixes?
I got a lot of inspiration, believe it or not, from sound system culture. You know, I know we all know the sounds that play Jimmy Cliff on dub, but a lot more sounds actually play Jimmy Cliff on dub. The other sounds that play Jimmy Cliff on dub, they just never really lasted long. So, you know, Bodyguard being a champion sound through the decades, Mighty Crown, and, you know, all of these great sounds, they were able to do something in a space where all the other guys that were also playing that were no longer around, you know? So I really dug into those sound systems that had Jimmy Cliff dubs as well. Now, some of them have Jimmy Cliff on Punani rhythm and like regular juggling.
That's wild. Imagine hearing a Jimmy Cliff on Punani rhythm.
Yo, bro, when I tell you, say, it's the maddest thing. I also want to say special big up to Metro Media. They influenced one of my songs. They have a Luciano Bujabantan anthem on the answer rhythm of Sitting in Limbo. Yeah, man, right, on the answer rhythm. And that influenced my version of that song. Yeah, man, sound system culture influenced the whole project.
The whole project there. And how is that project doing now? Because I know this week you say, okay, I'm doing reggae. Next week, you're doing Afro beats. Next time you're doing soca. You're just an eclectic mix of everything. So how is this doing for you right now?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't check. I let it go. Once it's out and people can enjoy it and I promote it, I don't check the numbers. Now, I know it's doing well because this nomination that we're trying to get for the Grammys kind of made me look at the numbers. And so the streaming is extremely high. Of course it would be. Jimmy Cliff's name alone, right? So very proud of this project. But for the most project, brother, when I do music, me not check the numbers, none at all, bro. You know, I really just try and move on to the next project and let that resonate with the people, you know, over time.
Definitely. Right now, even with Grammys, because I know you're submitting that for consideration.
Yes.
You know, right now there's 75 projects, reggae projects up for consideration right now.
Yeah, man. And you know, it never used to be like that. People used to drop reggae projects and never submit it because the Grammys wasn't even a part of our
psyche
thinking, you know? So that's cool. That's great, you know? I heard they might change the name of the reggae category.
Okay.
It might be called Caribbean.
Is that to more incorporate the soca from every region and stuff like that too?
Yeah. Soca music gets put in world music category. Yeah. And so now reggae might become Caribbean. And if it does, I think that's a great thing. I think it represents several genres of music that have never had a chance. And I don't think reggae music should really be the only ones to ever get this like standalone chance. Now I would love each one of these genres to have their own.
That's what I was just
that would be the greatest thing.
Yeah.
But I am my brother's keeper, man. You know, and if soca people and compa and zouk and all of these genres of music are feeling like they're in this thing over there called world, and they've got no chance at all because every part that the Grammys doesn't really consider you know, a factor in their assessment, they just shove it over there. Hopefully this can highlight a lot of the great albums coming out of the Caribbean. And I don't need it to be a reggae album. I just need it to be great, you know.
Caribbean
and so once the Caribbean,
music.
yeah man, I've got me stand for from time.
Yeah.
It's always been one Caribbean for me. So we'll see how this pans out. But it's a very interesting idea that was brought forth, and you know, salute to the entire Caribbean, man.
How does a committee go through 75 submissions and then whittle it down? Because that's a lot of submissions, bro.
They don't listen, bro.
Yeah.
Yo, if you think that they're listening to 75 albums, you're mad.
So do you
So
at
that's
least
when it goes
understand
back
how
to
it
like the
does
people
work?
who say, if your name Marley, I go win. And there is some truth to that.
Okay.
But that's not just reggae music. That goes across the board.
Name
Once you're
recognition.
a name, most people will just be like, I'm not listening to this. And they just, yeah man, then just check it. Oh, what? Who for phone out?
Okay.
This is not the second time. No. This is not the second time.
You got me, bro.
This is not the second time.
You got me, bro. You got me. You got me.
That man young
You got me.
has had his phone on loud twice during an interview with me right now.
You got me.
John knows
You
stuff.
got me, bro.
Can you imagine him yelling to everybody, yo, make sure your phones are off?
Silent on the set. And I'm not silent. Do as I say, not as I do. You understand?
Okay.
Yeah, so okay. Grammy, so you're saying, okay, a lot of times they don't even really get to go through it. It's
Yeah,
name
man.
recognition, like anything else.
Like
any
anything else.
Business,
It's
any
not
brand,
just
anything.
that. I'm not saying it's just that.
But that's
I
what-
am
that gives you a
saying
leg up.
When you have so much material to sift through, yeah, man, sometimes you're just going, okay, I know Post Malone. I'm voting for him.
Yeah, it's brand recognition.
Yeah, man. So hopefully this will allow a lot of the other brands a chance, a fighting chance, in a category that has Caribbean people judging and interacting and being voiced, you know, in the meeting, being their voices being heard. While I think over in world category, not so much, man. You know, the judges that decide that one, they truly are looking around the world for, I mean, they're going through projects from every country, you know. And it's kind of hard to really have your voice in that category.
You just brought up something, that world, where they're going to make it Caribbean music. Why do you think like something like Soca, that's been around from Calypso days to Soca right now, doesn't have that category? And when you look at Soca, Soca's the genre itself is well put together.
Yeah, man.
The way how they promote it, the way how they market, their whole, everything about Soca is very well put together. Why do you think it doesn't have that stand like how reggae and dancehall does?
So let's go viral. There's a lot of things that Soca does not do. What you just said is some of the things that Soca does do. Some of the things that Soca does not do is they do not have the numbers that a lot of these other genres have.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize how small some of these islands are and how small some of these audiences are in comparison to a dancehall or a reggae. You know, things that you could possibly go anywhere in the world and say reggae, and there's not a single person in the world that wouldn't know it. While Soca, you might have to play a song. You might have to play a song. You might have to explain it. So that's the first thing. They actually don't have huge numbers, and those numbers count when it comes to voting and to having a voice. Not only do they not have large numbers, within the numbers that they have, not everyone is fighting for this thing. Now, sorry, I just had to hear what song he was playing to make sure I don't play that song over. If this entire Soca world was like, yo, we're fighting for this, they actually would make like real motion everywhere. but there's a lot of splintered people. There's people that kind of dabble in, then they dip out, you know, and that causes for the numbers to be even less, you know. So you end up having a fractioned group of people who are fighting for soca every single day. You know, they're on social media, they're doing events, they're at events. Like for instance, like here's a great example. You have people who fight for soca music every single day on social media, but they never leave their house. Yeah, man, everything good, man. Everything good, brother.
Big up their security for sure.
Yeah. Make sure nobody not thief the drinks them. Yeah, man. Say less. So, you know, and so you kind of say to yourself, okay, well, how can that person champion soca, but they don't go outside? They don't go to an event. They don't promote an event. They don't produce a song. They promote a song and they'll promote an event, but there's a disconnect there.
Okay.
You kind of have to be all in for something to have a proper movement. And it's very difficult for some people to do that. They have jobs, they have families, and so they do their best with what they have. Well, I noticed, like, for instance, the hip hop guys, you see Old Man Ebro and they're at events. They're at a concert. They're at an underground party. They're on the radio. They're pushing hip hop. Cypher Sounds.
Yeah.
Like all of these guys, they're in it and they're online representing it. And a lot of the time you find that some of the biggest people who represent it sometime are actually living out in somewhere, where they just don't go and they don't support it, or they don't actually have the ability to, for whatever reason. So it's fraction like that. So that's one point. Sorry to be so long with it.
No, man.
Like I said, viral.
What I think, okay, this is the trick. What I find with soca is a very, even though technically soca should have a bigger market share because reggae and dancehall is predominantly coming from Jamaica. That's basically where it's coming from. Soca knows Trinidad, Dominica, Barbados.
I want to say you're so wrong about where reggae is coming from, bro.
No, not coming from. I mean the home base.
The home base.
The
right
home
now,
base,
No, man, reggae
we know from Brazil to all of these
California,
places.
Hawaii.
We know that, But I mean, as in before all of that came into play.
Right.
The main base was Jamaica, where predominantly dancehall and reggae artists are coming. Soca now, Trinidad is the power base, yes, but you also had Grenada, Barbados, all of these places. What I'm finding with soca is a very closed market. You don't see a big soca podcast. You don't see a big soca commentator. There's these things, and I don't know why it operates like that. There's no, anything you could see in hip hop, you'll see there's blogs for dancehall and reggae. I don't really see blogs for soca like that.
Yeah, man, there's blogs. But again, I think that their audience is just not that big. So again, I think it comes down to numbers. You have soca blogs that really keep up, really stay current, really push the music, but they're servicing a smaller crowd, and they're servicing a crowd that's not fully dedicated to soca. They're also in love with other genres of music, and when soca comes around, they're like, yeah, man, soca. So that was my second point, soca's seasonal. And so because of a bunch of songs being unloaded maybe once, twice, 3 times a year, you don't get the same kind of spontaneity that you have when you have a dancehall or hip hop song drop today about what happened yesterday. That's very important.
Oh, it's current and it could be trendy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. In today's world now, old soca, calypso, kaizo, they were talking about current topics, and they didn't really have to work on a timeline. They were performing songs, sometimes freestyling it, and then going to record it because it was happening in real time. Soca doesn't have that. It has a season where artists tour, and then them drop some, and then them tour, and then them drop some.
It's made up differently than how dancehall is just
hip hop and dancehall and all these other genres.
Now and whatever's
country
happening
music.
right now.
Today something go on. Tonight, may I drop the song? And that's a big deal, in this world that we live in today.
Social media world that
we're in, man. So having soca on a schedule can't work.
Yeah.
You got to be able to drop anytime.
School me to some places where reggae is really coming from, because as I said, the power base is really Jamaica. But where are some places that people will be surprised?
Yeah,
when
man.
reggae is
Hawaii,
really coming
California,
from?
man, huge.
Yeah.
Indonesia, huge, man. Malaysia, huge, man. Big, big, big.
Malaysia.
Yeah, man. What? Big, big.
Yeah.
Yo, that side of the world, man, so huge.
When you go out there, what type of music do you play?
Usually a lot of local stuff. Yeah, man. I grab the local hits,
Yeah.
probably remix them, get the dub plate, you know, dub plate in some Sri Lankan language that I don't know. Yeah, man. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
I try to really cater to what's in front of me.
Definitely. Since we're on the topic of dancehall, this is one last topic of dancehall before we go into another one. Vybz Kartel. He's free now. This man right here did the most viral Vybz Kartel interview that
what a
pops up
time.
all the time.
We talked about that interview, right? Like how it happened.
How it
Okay,
happened,
yeah, man, yeah,
where
man,
you
yeah.
just went to the office,
Yeah, man.
Jay
Just,
Will's
yeah,
office.
man. Just a natural
You know what
mystic.
I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
You see what Kartel is doing now, because Kartel was always an internet man. He liked to play around with the internet, but it seemed like since he came out, he's in overdrive right now. You see him all over the blogs and everything. Did you expect Vybz Kartel to really be this in tune with what's happening right now, especially being away
here's the
for so
thing.
long?
I actually don't think he's in tune with what's happening, and that's the magic of it.
What do you mean?
Yo, when the man pick up a phone, you know, you can tell he's
Yeah.
learning. When he stands in front of a camera, you can tell he's learning, and that's the magic of it.
In real
He
time.
doesn't act like he knows everything. He'll grab something and then say, yo, do this for me, because I don't know how to do this, or show me how to do this so I can do this myself.
Yeah.
And that's the actual magic of Vybz Kartel right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
Do you think if somebody went to Kartel and said, listen, I'm from the future, you could go to jail for 13 years and come out and be a monster, or you could just continue on the path and whatever happens in life happens in life. What do you think he would have done?
I don't think any man would choose jail, bro. No, sir.
Yeah.
I don't know any man. That's all I'm gonna say.
But you have to remember, the caveat is
Nah,
you're gonna
I
be
don't
a
care.
monster when you come out, you know.
No man.
Yeah.
Man, me attack. Real man. Man.
Yeah.
That would have said me one, but that's up over being a free man.
Yeah.
Yo, the man have children, bro.
100%.
Nobody's gonna pick jail over their children, bro. Come on. No way. Nah.
Yeah. It's just
No
to
way.
see where his career went after the fact, because I'm not talking, it's not just dancehall he has on Smash, you know. He has even like the Americans on Smash right now.
Yeah, they're interested. It's really cool to see.
Yeah.
They're really interested, you know. But again, you know, he was Mr. Viral before that word existed. You know, he knew how to maintain
Yeah.
a presence. So yeah, man, salute to him, man.
Are we gonna get a new Walshy Fire Vybz Kartel interview
Man,
hopefully sooner rather than
That'd
later?
be cool, you know.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, man. Big up, big up, man. And thank you again, Vybz Kartel, for that interview, because it's just buck up.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But as you said, buck ups are usually the best ones
They're the best ones, man.
when you buck up. Listen, you're a man. Entertainment and music right now seems to be like in a funny place. It almost seems like it's in shambles. As you alluded to earlier, clubs are getting smaller. Everything's getting smaller. Even when you look at record labels, a lot of executives are leaving. A lot of artists are getting dropped and stuff. And then a couple weeks ago, they arrested and charged Diddy for some real crazy stuff. But it's still really mysterious they said what he's being charged for. But there's a lot of open gaps. Have you been following that case?
Not really, man. And you know, I kind of wonder sometimes what we're being distracted from. Like, what is the, you know, what's
the end
what's the
goal?
play? And so, you know, you focus on this guy and his situation, and you're missing a whole other thing. And I don't know him, I don't know his situation, so it has nothing to do with me. So I stay focused on stuff that does.
For sure. Doesn't it seem interesting, him being one of the biggest executives and party promoter at a time where nobody's saying coming to his defense at all? At all, boss. At all. And I'm not saying that there's certain things that you can't defend sexual crimes and stuff.
Right.
I get that. But nobody, for a character to say, okay, I've never seen him do this. Like nobody, boss.
Could you imagine, and I just thought of this, but could you imagine, and I know I'm not the first person thinking this, but I just thought of this. Could you imagine Diddy gets crucified in the worst way, whatever the punishment is, he gets the worst. And when this whole ordeal is done, nobody even remembers there was an Epstein with a list that probably is more important for us to know than anything anyone else has done. I don't know, man. Sometimes you feel like, you're getting played and the audience is now looking this way while, the Epstein case just kind of falls into the gray, like into the bush.
Sometimes it's a lot of times where things are happening where the average person doesn't really get to know. We get to see what's going on in the front, but you don't know what's happening behind that.
Yeah, it's a time, man. It's a time where, if you can buckle down and be disciplined, go, man, go, because the distractions are plenty.
Wow.
And, I look at every post that I see and I look at every conversation that I have and I honestly ask, did this better me? Or how can this better me? And I find myself majority of the time saying, this didn't add to my life in any way. So I am now going to walk away from this and I'm not going to probably be back, because now I'm no longer receiving anything that makes my life more enriched. It's like at this point now we're just running in circles and I've done that, so it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to give that a probably a permanent rest and move into some other stuff. And that works because to me, it's like space is like a real thing. And if you take up your time and space and energy doing things that don't reward you, the things that do want to reward you don't get an opportunity to. And so the moment I kind of stepped away from a lot of that stuff, just crazy new opportunities start to reach me because they've been kind of sitting there waiting like,
pay attention to us, we're here.
We're here.
Yeah.
So, I give thanks.
At this stage in your musical life and even in your personal, what do you really find rewarding now? You've done so much, you've seen so much, you know so much, and there's a lot of stuff that you can't even speak about that you've seen. What do you find rewarding at this point here now?
Also great question, man.
Yeah. Because again, I know somebody that's again in so many circles, sees so many things. That might be a real interesting question that you probably haven't really asked yourself in a really long time.
Yeah, for sure. Because there are great moments, man. There's also not great moments. And I appreciate the great ones so much. And I try to make the not great ones great. And I do believe I get rewarded from my patience and my ability to look at the not great ones and be like, we're going to make this great. But overall, I have so many new transitions in life. My bar, my farm. I have so many things that are now giving me this feeling of reward that I used to get solely from DJing. And so I still get the reward from DJing. I feel great. This is a great show we're at tonight.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out there in a few minutes and
man,
it's a problem. And I'm going to feel that reward of taking my time and really considering the crowd and making sure that I deliver. But now I have other things that give me insane rewards, bro. Nothing beats when you see your fruit tree out grow, bro. And it start bear fruit. And nothing like my bar, Dante's Hi-Fi in Miami, Wynwood, doing so well, packed every night. And you're watching these things grow and become new parts of your life that you weren't expecting when you were 20 years old. You never thought this would be happening.
When you're in the hood and nothing's really happening, it's like you wanted there, but you couldn't see a path to get there. How am I going to get there, boss?
Yeah, man.
I want to get there, but
man.
I don't see a path
man.
to get there until it presented itself because you wanted it.
Yeah, man. Once you don't see that path, you realize, it's there, but we just need to chop down some of them tree. And what does that mean? Do the hard work.
Yeah.
I need to chop the bush. The path is there. But who don't want to do the work will never see it.
Because it's covered by the bushes.
Right.
Once you carve it
hard
out,
work
you'll
is chop-
see it's right.
The hard work is chopping that bush though, man.
Yeah.
To see the path. And so, you know, I've worked really hard at this craft, man. And so I believe that my rewards will continue to I'll be blessed for the rest of my life off of the ability to be able to do what I love. Very, very few people are able to do that full time, what I love.
Got you.
Yeah, man.
Got two more for you before I get you out of there. Do you ever see yourself completely leaving music all alone? As a DJ, as a producer, as an MC, as a promoter, as a host, anything? So there's no retirement plan when it comes to music?
No, I definitely will participate in music for the rest of my life. And yeah, that means I'll do less of certain things and more of certain things, but I will always, 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 always be that same guy sitting on the floor in Dynamics Record Shop in downtown Kingston, Jamaica, going through layers and layers and layers of shelves of boxes just to find a gem. Non-stop.
Yeah. You don't see that there's no retirement. As I tell my wife too, wife says, oh, when I get to a certain age, I want to retire. I said, that thought has never even crossed my mind.
No.
That's not even a retire from what?
No. And salute to all the guys that are still around doing it, man. And you know, the Firelinks, the Materon, the David Radigans, oh my God, Johnny Guard. Like, man, so much respect to them because they've been able to do this thing. You know, Rory, been able to do this thing for decades, and people still are interested to see them and still can go out there and do what they love.
Yeah, definitely. That was the end of my topics. Do you have one topic that you want to cover before we get out of here?
No, man, you know already, man, Muscle, it's you.
Yeah.
So, you know, we make sure that we show up and present conversation in a high level manner, you know? So I appreciate you, brother, and thank you for all the interviews. I don't know what number this is.
This is,
but
I lost
every
track
single
a lot
one of
time
them,
ago.
man, it's always great to have a conversation with you, man. You really care about this music. You really care about the industry. You really care about the fans by constantly finding interviews and finding people to talk to. And consistency is a big key. A lot have come, a lot have gone. And, you know, you being able to stay here for, I don't know, since the kiosk in the mall days. You know.
Been a long time.
And be here now. Amazing. So salute to you, man.
It's really, if I got to tell you the truth, 100%, it's not even because she's in here. This is the truth. It's because my wife. You understand? Many times you feel like, boy, I can't do this anymore. This is hard. You might feel like crying. You might feel like this isn't working out. Nobody appreciates. Nobody cares. She'll say, what? Yo, bad man. Come, Rod. You know, she doesn't talk like that, but in my mind, that's what she's saying to me.
Yeah, man, and I think the fact that you even have somebody that is not you, that stands outside of you and sees how great you are when you don't see it, man, that's an angel, man. So salute to the wife, salute to all the fans that message you and say thank you for what you're doing, because you've got a big audience of people who can't wait to see the levels that this show goes to, man. So, and I'm one of them.
You're the one that told me, say, yo, listen, it's cool and everything. Your exclusive night studio is cool, but you have to go on the road.
Yeah, I have to go on the road, man.
Off and do the road.
Yeah, off and do the road.
You know what I mean? Can't wait to touch on in Jamaica next.
Yeah, that's a problem when you do.
You know what I mean? Leave some contact info where they could check you out, follow you, see all the stuff you have coming up, all the good stuff.
Walshy Fire, guys. You know, it's simple, it's easy. So just, you know, link me.
Simplicity, use and survive.
Simplicity we use and survive every time.
Walshy, it's always a vibe. As I said, next time, we're playing tag. So you said tag. I'm in Toronto.
Yeah, man.
Florida next time.
Man. I'm
Miami.
I'm big up Cardinal official. I tried to get him in the interview, but he's outside doing something. So
it's all good. Big up Cardi. He knows. Cardi knows already what we're about.
Know what going.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Muscle, and this has been another Two Line Music Hut's Entertainment Report podcast, and we are out.
This podcast is brought to you by www.twolinesmusichut.com.